It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 409. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hi.
Kodra.
Conflict.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hello.
That was like a kind of a boring error code, I guess. Just conflict.
It's just conflict. I don't exactly know where that one comes up.
No, I got no clue. I've never encountered that one.
It apparently is in response to a put request, which you know how many put requests we do.
Yeah,
more
that's
with rest, but
maybe it's a file already exists type thing.
Or you're trying to de-risk a race condition, like
maybe
something, you're doing an operation against something on the back end, and it feels like you should mutex, but I guess you could just reject it.
Okay. I think about this enough during the week.
It's become the first few minutes of every show. So, Grace, you have been playing Torchlight Infinite.
I have. I fortunately, I guess, missed out on the horrible Diablo mobile pain, suffering, and cash grab. But jumped into the Torchlight version, I guess. It's not on the level of, it's not on the Diablo level here. Let's get that right up front. I just hopped in, and I think I'm level 55-ish, so I haven't hit the end game stuff yet. But it's just, I don't know, if Path of Exile scratched the, I need a challenge Diablo-style game itch, this scratches the, I just need something mindless where I can kill lots of monsters and collect way too much loot itch. And for the most part, it's delightful. It supposedly has a story. I mean, ARPGs mostly, they're not exactly known for their storytelling, so whatever.
I would say it's a step below the usual ARPG story. It's very much this is a phone game story.
Yeah, and at some point, I'm not sure, Belle, how far you've made it, but I think I'm in chapter 5, and at some point it went from a vague sort of storyline to, and now you need to just clear these levels.
Oh, okay. I've not gotten there yet.
The bottom just drops right out of the story at some point.
Yeah, we couldn't afford having a rider anymore, so
yeah.
Have any of these games tried a much more goofy story? I feel like
there was a game called Fate, and before Fate, there was another game that was a precursor to Fate, and they kind of had a really slapsticky kind of goofy story from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Torchlight in general never had the most serious story, and Torchlight 3 definitely had some goofy stuff happening. It wasn't entirely silly, but it wasn't taking itself super seriously.
I mean, Torchlight 1 was pretending to be a serious game with a really not serious aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 was sort of the same, but even more serious, which I don't think really worked all that well.
The Torchlight art style at the time was really big in comics. There was a whole, I don't know, that whole expressionist kind of style of having everything be over exaggerated. I'm thinking like Battle Chasers kind of style.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Joe Mad.
Yeah. Like that was a thing when Torchlight came out. Like it was like Greg Capullo was doing that stuff, and like so I think it was a product of its time.
But anyway, I mean, this offering is definitely a mobile game. I've only been playing it on the PC though, and it's just scratching the itch for that style of game for me. It's it's got a battle pass. It's got I don't even know the cash up system gotcha stuff seems slightly more convoluted than even normal to me. Like it wasn't immediately clear even how to transfer my dollars into the kind of currency that I was interested in, so I just didn't. But there is it's mostly cosmetic stuff in the random pulls, but the pets in the game can also give you access to essentially another talent tree, and that does require playing the slot machine. So a little frustrating. I think if you wanted to absolutely maximize your power, you would need multiple copies of whatever the best pet is. I don't know. I got a few random ones from my free pulls, and it seems totally functional. And the important part is that I have a pet that runs around and helps pick up some of the loot. So,
Nice.
That's a standard Torchlight thing that I love.
I think you can also send them to town to sell still, can't you?
I don't think so in this one, unless I have not gotten there yet. But it did require like playing through part of the free side of the battle pass to unlock the ability for the pet to pick stuff up off the ground. And it doesn't seem to pick up as much loot and carry it in the same way as pets in previous Torchlights. But it's still got the same kind of flavor. So I don't know. I'm running around as, I don't know if it's just a guy or if he's a dwarf or whatever. He summons robots, and that's all I care about. I run around with the swarm of robots, and they murder my enemies for me, and it's great. So yeah, don't come for the story. But if you like that style of game and want a little bit of mindless fun in a brightly colored fun world instead of a super angry, dark and brooding world, it's a good time.
I think the main reason why I've not played a ton of it yet is I don't really want to play it on PC. I think I want to play it mostly on a mobile game before I go to bed, because like that's when I played a lot of Diablo Immortal when I was playing it. And right now it has no controller support.
Yeah.
Which is coming supposedly, but like I don't want to play it with touchscreen controls. I have controllers that do a nice job of wrapping around my phone. So hopefully at some point they will patch in controller support, and then I will probably spend a lot more time in it.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I've been debating downloading it on my phone just to mess around with it and see how it plays there.
It's fine, but it's touchscreen controls. I mean, it plays exactly like you expect a touchscreen game to play.
Right? Yeah, it's just not my favorite thing. So, but I've been enjoying it on PC, and I mostly prefer to play ARPGs with a mouse and keyboard anyway, so it's not as big of a loss for me not to be able to play the mobile version. But
yeah, I mean the big step is with this beta was the first time you could do keybinds. So like prior to that, I did not think it was terribly playable at all.
Yeah, that was what got me in when you messaged me and said, "Hey, you can, you can actually set up the game the way we like to play it."
Yep, you can steer. Finally.
So yeah, that got me to hop in, and I don't regret it. I've spent a bunch of hours in it, and it's got very bite-sized levels, which is nice. So it's very easy to just pick up and play for a couple minutes and put down. So very mobile game in that regard. But I appreciate it because if I'm sitting at the PC, I can play for 5 minutes on my lunch break, or I can sit down in the afternoon and play for a long time. So yeah, it's been fun. It's not exactly shining stellar example of the genre, but it's a pleasant enough way to pass some time.
I ended up patching it up last night on the phone again, and I'm gonna give it another shot to see if I can get used to the touchscreen controls again. The other game you've been playing is Kaichu.
I have. This is one of those games where I guess everyone should be glad that we're not doing the Game of the Month club, because I would definitely be subjecting everyone to this. But yeah, it's Kaichu. It's the Kaiju dating sim game.
Ah.
It's adorable.
Looks very silly.
It's incredibly silly. It's pretty short. I have not finished playing through all of the potential romances, but I think I only have 1 or 2 left at this point. Yeah, not incredibly long, but it's just intensely adorable. Just very cute kaiju looking for love, and they express their interest in each other by, destroying landmarks.
Makes perfect sense.
So it's just, yeah, very, very adorable. Some of the gameplay is a little bit repetitive. It's sort of like a dating game show kind of thing where you're asking and answering questions about the other kaiju to get to know them. So some of that is similar from each playthrough, but they're all very cute. They all have their own different personalities and backgrounds, and what's not to love about dating a giant flying plant monster named Mosra.
Sure. Are you taking the role of one of these kaiju? Are you a blank slate kaiju?
You are the kaiju, so you are one of the kaiju. Yes.
Okay. But your character presumably, I mean, maybe has some personality, but is not like, you're not matchmaking between the various kaiju.
Right. Yeah, you are playing mostly the blank slate and trying to, guess the answers of the dating game questions to make yourself appealing to whichever, monster that you're trying to date. Yeah, it's not the most complex game. It's not super complicated, but it is incredibly cute. And just one of those things that seemed like it was created specifically to get my attention. So I absolutely
it
had
sits
to
in the
get it.
center of your Venn diagram.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, I mean, wandering around the earth, visiting various famous landmarks and destroying them to show how much you care about another giant monster.
Now, is there any like gameplay to destroying the the landmarks, or is it still mostly just like click options?
Yeah, it is very much just a dating sim, so it's just click the answers to the questions, and if you get them correct, then you will watch your kaiju burn down the buildings.
I think that is a bit of an interesting opportunity to just now you're playing Rampage.
Right.
They recently released kind of a modern version of Rampage, but like I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. But there is like a game that came out recently that's kind of just it's a 3D. It's more like the SNK monster game from the 90s, not Rampage, but like you basically are just like tag teaming with your friends and destroying cities.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Rampage. Like it was like one of my favorite games.
Yeah,
I always played Lizzie. I always made Lizzie eat people from the windows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rampage was great. I had it on the Nintendo. I would play it on arcade cabinets whenever I ran across it.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
I remember
Mazio's Pizza had one of those in the back, and like I always played it. Like that was my game.
I remember the jumping being just a touch janky in that game.
More than a touch.
Yeah, but like at the time, I didn't know any better. I just assumed all games were that way. Like at that point, we really didn't have good jumping in games.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a missed opportunity, but because it would have been entertaining to have sort of a breakout mini game of actually destroying things, but
it would have been hilarious to like actually have that as an element to where you and your kaiju of choice go on a date to a city, and depending on like how proud that kaiju is determines whether or not you should actually win. You know, like, so you're both like keeping score as you're destroying the town. But like, if it's a really proud kaiju, then, you know, you really need to kind of hold it back and let them win.
Right. Yeah. I think like there's certainly a lot of ways that this could have gone, and really all of the things that we're describing, like somebody make these games, I will buy them.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be more kaiju games. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also more kaiju movies. Someone get on that.
Please. Take my money.
Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom.
So this series has the dumbest names. Like absolutely, completely ridiculous names.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is a new game in the Wonder Boy series, created a few years ago at this point, and released on Switch and I'm pretty sure everything else.
Originally known in America as Adventure Island.
Not to be confused with Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, which was also released on Switch, and is a remake of a game that is sometimes called Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, but it's not the only game called Wonder Boy 3. It's a nonsense. Anyway, this game is actually new, or it was new when it came out. But it took me this long to actually get around to playing it. I think because I bought it, started it, and got stuck really early when I tried to play this game previously. It is a Metroidvania of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of puzzles revolving around shapeshifting into various things and getting new items and upgrades to let you do things like, say, freeze water so you can make ice blocks to jump on platforms, or find some fire boots so you can melt ice blocks that already exist, or turn into a snake so you can grip on walls and fit through small spaces. And this game is kind of incredibly compelling for how old the game is based on is. Like Wonder Boy 3, while perfectly fine, is not that interesting, but this game is actually really cool and uses its Metroidvania-style map design a little better.
I was about to say, is it also a Metroidvania in the sense that there's going to be like a bunch of different routes that you could potentially take through it?
No, it's pretty linear in terms of
Okay.
you go to this zone, which is the temple, and you go to this zone, which is the forest.
Okay.
In those, you get like new abilities to let you get to new places, and those let you get to new other zones from the central hub, basically.
Now, can you travel back and now unlock things that you missed before?
You can, yes.
Okay.
But I just thought to bring some attention to this one because it's been out for a while. It's actually quite good, and I missed it when it really released. It is quite difficult for a game in this genre. A lot of enemies can kill you in like 2 or 3 hits, and while checkpoints are very frequent, it's still a little frustrating at times.
We still have some time before Silk Song comes out.
Yes, well.
The one that I can remember the most was, I think, Wonder Boy in Monsterland, which was out on the Genesis, and it was kind of a side-scrolly Zelda game.
I think the one people seem to remember a lot is Wonder Boy in Monster World.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's the title. I don't know. All the titles were kind of nonsense, like you said.
Yes. Wonder Boy and Monsterland, Wonder Boy 3 Monster Lair, Wonder Boy 3 The Dragon's Trap, which is a different game, Wonder Boy and Monster World 4, and then Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is considered to be the next game in the series, which is this one. Truly a wild set of names for ridiculousness, honestly.
Well, and what's even wilder, though, is the fact that, as Thalen said, Wonder Boy is a game we knew as Adventure Island, and Adventure Island has its own sequence of games, completely separate from, the Wonder Boy origins.
Yes. This whole thing has made the entire franchise confused, to say the least.
Yeah. Licensing.
And that is why this game is not called Wonder Boy, it's called Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, because it was being developed at the same time as the Wonder Boy remake, and they had the rights to the Wonder Boy name. Anyway, game's fun. Name's nonsense.
This week, Marvel Snap actually released.
Yep.
After being in beta for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, I think it was in beta for quite a while, but it's actually
I wasn't in the beta, so I never got to play it.
No, I never played it before now, but yeah, it's a card game, and the cards have Marvel characters on them, and it's very fast and reasonably straightforward. And while you certainly could spend a lot of money on this game if you wanted to, your money just gets you like different images for the same cards. So like you're not buying better cards, just like a Hawkeye card drawn by a different artist or something. But yeah, it's actually pretty for a game that only lasts 6 turns, and you just play some cards on one of 3 locations each of those turns. It's actually pretty compelling, just because the various cards have different abilities that a lot of times will affect other cards that you've already played. The locations have abilities that modify things. You only know what one of the locations is at the beginning of the game. The others are revealed. Like, you can play at the other 2 locations, but you don't know what they are until the second and third turns. So it's entirely possible that maybe you'll play a 1 power character on the 3rd location, and then it flips over and it's a location that subtracts 3 from the power of every card at that location, and so now your power there is negative. But yeah, it's pretty fun. I've been playing a fair bit.
Yeah, this is the game from the company that Ben Brode spun off, and he's mostly known for Hearthstone.
What type of deck are you playing?
I mean, I don't have lots and lots of cards yet, but I got a hold of one of the cards that I got was Spectrum, Monica Rambeau, and she has an ability that increases the power of every other character of yours on the board that has an ongoing ability by +2. So I've got a deck with lots of characters with ongoing abilities, and then hopefully I can play Monica on my 6th turn, and all of their powers go up by 2. And then also I've got Kazar, who has an ongoing ability, which is that all cards that cost 1 energy of yours have +1 power. So I've got him in there in addition to, multiple 1-cost cards like Ant-Man and Nightcrawler and so forth. And it's working pretty well so far. But, I keep unlocking new cards, so I may try some other things.
I appreciate that all the cards are basically unlocked through play.
Yes. Yeah, you basically improve the rarity of your cards through play, which just makes their art cooler. And as you increase the rarity of your cards, that increases the overall level of your collection, and new cards are unlocked by that. And then also by gaining XP from playing and so forth. And you get a reward, win or lose. You get more if you win, but even if you lose, you still get a reward.
That is hugely important.
Yes.
Is this versus other people or CPU, game or computer or something, or?
It's versus other players, although I'm I kind of wonder if a couple of the other players that I've played were actually AIs. Like one of them just like played so incredibly boneheadedly that I really want to believe it wasn't a real person, but I don't know.
I mean, you might be playing against some people who don't really understand everything going on.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, like your first couple of games are very clearly against the computer.
Mhm.
Like the first game in particular, it's very much like, okay, now play this card. Okay, so now this happens. Okay, so this card can do this. So play it here, and so forth. But yeah, after those first two games, you're playing against other players. You decide to play a game, and it matches you up against somebody, and you play. And there's not as far as I've been able to tell, there's no emotes or any way whatsoever to communicate with the other player.
It's
good.
funny how the games that are the most enjoyable to play with other players are the games that have no contact with the actual player.
Turns out, language is toxic.
Mm-hmm. And if you give players any way whatsoever to communicate, they will find a way to be toxic with it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. So, Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope?
Yeah, Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope came out this Thursday. I have not gotten very far. The UI is the experience of it's very different, and like you don't have hexes that you or like squares that you move to. You kind of just free move a certain distance, and it feels pretty great. And then you can still do all of the things where like I'm gonna jump over somebody and like I'm gonna move, I'm gonna dash into enemies, I'm gonna get behind cover and attack enemies. It feels very good. All of the characters now have dialogue, which is weird. That's my comment. It's weird that the Rabbids can talk now.
They like beyond just screaming.
Yes.
That's very weird.
Okay, is like I'm used to them making like weird, chittery,
The-
grunty noises.
The
Same.
blah noises, yeah.
Yes.
No, the Rabbids talk.
I don't know if I like this.
They have personalities.
Yikes.
I mean, they already had personalities. Let's be clear.
I mean,
Sure.
but like you can do that with just some random noises and text appearing on the screen.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to like it definitely feels like, hey, Rabbids have sort of integrated themselves into Mushroom Kingdom society. And it's weird. They don't like
Disturbed by this.
It's not entirely true. There are voiced lines that I've already heard that are mostly just like battle cries. Like
I don't know.
But Rabbid Peach, definitely I've heard Rabbid Peach's voice while like controlling her on the battlefield.
That is deeply weird.
So as I recall, the background of this is some Rabbids used a washing machine to time travel to an inventor's lab where one of them got a hold of some weird merged thing.
Yep.
And merged the Rabbids with a bunch of Mario like merchandise.
You're correct. Yes.
Okay. And then they got back in the washing machine and went to the Mushroom Kingdom because
no.
Oh no.
No. They like the merging of the Rabbids and the like. That's what sent them to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Because if you are merged with Mario merchandise, clearly you belong in the Mushroom Kingdom. So.
Yeah, like they.
Oh, okay.
So the Mergely thing is like what sent the inciting incident that got them all there, and then like the playable character was actually this like tiny disc robot called Beepo. It's less clear that Beepo is the playable character now, which is good because Beepo is kind of comically annoying. But Beepo definitely has a voice now, and that's mostly I'm okay with. But yeah, like it starts off with, hey, you need to go find Mario Rabbids overalls because somebody stole them. And it turns out the somebody is Rabbid Luigi because Rabbid Luigi wanted to be the only Rabbid with overalls. And then you find this out through their conversation in text. And I was like, wait, Rabbids can talk? This is weird. It's
So,
weird. It's
okay.
fun though.
So I'm having trouble with this. So we're gonna break it down. Basically, Rabbids don't have voices, but after being merged with Mario merchandise, they have voices. So did the Mario merchandise have voices?
I mean, in the first game, I don't think there's any point at which any of the characters talk other than Beepo.
Okay.
Does
that mean if we go to the store and there's a Mario shirt, it can talk?
Maybe.
The Rabbids have voices now because all the Mario characters are voiced by superstar actors. Like, Keegan-Michael Key.
And clearly.
I look at the back, like the premise, and I kind of think maybe this is a game that I should not show to my kid because I worry that he would be horrified by the concept and desperately want to fix them and put them back to normal.
I mean, I don't know. My kid really likes it because it's Mario moving around shooting guns.
Yeah, I just know we were. So we've been reading the Oz books, and the Wicked Witch got melted in the first one, no problem with that. Characters with removable heads, sure, fine, whatever. Wheeler's nothing bothered him about anything in any of the Oz books until the sixth one, where towards the end, when the Gnome King and his massive army of horrible, horrible people that want to enslave the Emerald City and are very well and truly evil are stopped by having them drink from a fountain that erases their memories. And he very nearly just broke down crying. He wanted to stop right then. This was scary. So, and for the next 2 days, he was like, "Well, maybe in the next book they'll find the fountain, the pond of truth, and it'll fix them."
Wow, that is not the moment I would have thought somebody would have hit their end.
No, of all the things, that was the one that he could not handle it. So I wonder what his reaction to this would be.
I will say that all of the Rabbids seem to very much enjoy their new role as having more personality than just Rabbid.
I mean, they are more important than just random Rabbids who used to be Rayman bad guys. So
Yeah, I mean, all of the other Rabbids are just going around causing general mayhem. These Rabbids get to hang out with Mario and Peach and Luigi.
The game has changed.
Yeah. And now they're communicating and they have wants and I mean, again, Rabbid Peach always very clearly had wants and dreams.
Very strong want.
Yeah. Rabbid Peach was extremely well characterized in the first game. She wanted to get as many selfies as possible.
The Mario and Rabbids game, at least the first one, and I assume the second one is in the same vein, unbelievably better than it had any right to be.
Yes, this one is I've only done a few tutorial battles and already I'm like, man, this game is definitely it feels so much better. I'm very excited for playing more of it. But yes, that was my initial feedback was wow, this story is definitely going to be interesting. Eli's excited because he knows he saw that Rabbid Rosalina is in it eventually.
That might be a selling point. My kid does love Rosalina.
Rosalina's great.
So are the little starling things Rabbids as well?
So there are definitely starlings that I don't know what the starlings are, but they have the Rabbid look to them.
Oh dear.
Lumas?
So I don't know what's going on there.
Wait, there are Rabbid Lumas?
There are Rabbid-esque Lumas is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the actual name of those things.
They have
sentient stars.
They have the Rabbid ears. They have the Rabbid teeth. They have the Rabbid eyes. They're a bit chubbier than I remember Lumas being.
Deeply weird.
I'm concerned.
I'm kind of hoping this is leading to a mainline Mario game that's just the Rabbid characters. Like a traditional Mario platformer, just to the Rabbids.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, so the DLC for Mario Rabbids didn't have Mario in it at all. It was just Cranky Rabbid, Rabbid Peach, and Donkey Kong. not Rabid Donkey Kong, because Rabid Donkey Kong was the villain that you were defeating.
But like they remind me of basically the Bizarro version of Mario characters.
I also feel like there is already this character. It's called the Nabbit. Also, if you're
Did
really
they ever
wanting
explain where the hell Nabbit is from?
no, but also if you want like actual Bizarro versions of Mario character, Wario exists and Waluigi exists.
Yeah.
How could you forget about Waluigi?
No, I mean like this is even more bizarre.
Yeah, I really want Rabid Waluigi.
There is Wario and Waluigi as villains in the first game.
Okay.
They're very annoying. Let me just say that.
I mean, that sounds appropriate.
Wario has just a ludicrous Overwatch, and Waluigi just smashes you into the ground. But yeah, I'm very excited for more of this game. It feels a lot smoother than the last one.
So I have been playing an excessive amount of New World.
Mhm.
Because New World's a big patch dropped. And also some lessons were learned, but not all of the lessons were learned.
Yeah, not enough lessons were learned.
So the problem is like we're having a different issue than we had at launch. At launch, the queues were so horrendous that nobody could play the game, so everybody kept going to other servers and nobody could end up on the same server. The queues are fine. Like, I've not encountered a queue past the first day. It's pretty much stabilized at 2,100-ish or so players, and
There's a reason for that.
the reason for that is they've locked almost all the servers. So, like, I tried really hard to pick a good server. It was the lowest pop server prior to all this madness starting. But they decided it was also the server that they should shuffle everyone onto.
Wait, who's they?
Amazon Game Studios.
Really? How did they shuffle people onto it?
On the day of the patch dropped, Themiscyra was the default server that everybody was being suggested.
No.
And at that point, like it was a little too late to turn the ship around.
Yeah, I know there was another article that came out where they're like, "Hey, you know what looks like a good server for people to roll on? Themiscyra." And I'm like, you didn't need to say that. We're doing that.
Well, and the problem is the only other server that was newer is in the same cluster as the original server.
It's okay though, right? Because they've definitely figured out this whole server transfer thing, right?
Server transfers are fine. Like, so at some point when things have stabilized, then server transfers will be a thing. But like
cross-region server transfers,
cross-region, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, cross-region transfer thing is a thing now.
Oh.
And everybody has like 2 transfers or should have 2 transfers.
All of my characters are orphaned without a place.
What?
Like, I try to log into them and they're like, you need to pick a server for this character because merges or something.
Wait. So it didn't auto give you a server?
Nope.
Yeah, so like all of my characters just kept moving along as servers got merged.
You might have continued to play a little bit or check in a little bit though.
I didn't, and my character seems to have ended up in a place. I mean, I rolled a new one, but my old one isn't just like floating and lost.
The only thing that I can think of is that, like, even your character that should be on Valhalla?
Me?
Yeah, because, like, the one that was on Minda merged into Frislandia merged into Valhalla. So, in theory, your Minda characters should all be on Valhalla.
At character select, I see select world.
You don't have characters at all?
I mean, I have characters, but the character, rather than having the server name under their name, it just says select world.
I don't know what to do with that. Like, I've never heard of that.
I haven't tried logging into them.
Yeah, so maybe it's just not showing a server because it's been a while since you've logged in?
Maybe.
But yeah, like, so in theory, like, anything that was on Minda should be on Valhalla, which is now the most populous server in the entire game. And it has,
Hooray.
like, on the day of release, it has 16-hour queues. So like I am more than happy with the reroll. I have enjoyed it greatly. I am accidentally level 44 because crafting is just stupid amounts of experience. Like originally I did not believe that you could ever level a character through crafting only. I know for a fact that you can do that here. Like if that's what you want to do, you can never touch a quest and level entirely through harvesting and crafting, because 80% of my levels have just been harvesting and crafting. I am so far behind the quests.
I am less that. I am level what? I'm level 20 or something like that.
Yeah, you're around 20.
But I just completed the new first chapter of the story quest. Ooh.
And got a cutscene of sorts.
Wait, did I? No, I didn't. Maybe I haven't completed it then.
Yeah, there's one point where you get like an animated.
Oh yeah, no, that's been a while ago. Never mind. Yes, I've learned the story of this world.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm level 20-ish, but I'm nowhere near that part of the story because I've been doing a mix of crafting and gathering and a little bit of questing. I'm way behind on the story.
I honestly, like, the only reason why I started doing any story at all is because I was in desperate need of reagents.
So speaking of this, because I don't remember, at some point, presumably I should have had to pick a faction.
That comes way later now than it used to.
Really?
Like previously, you could burn through and pick a faction at level 8.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You're going to get introduced to the concept of factions in the second zone. So when you make it to Everfall, you will start to finally experience the factions, and they have 3 bases in Everfall, and they're all basically vying for you to join them.
And you have to join one before you can join a guild, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and I mean, and I went Syndicate again because science over religion and militarism. But yeah, like, so they're going to have you do a series of quests, and I would highly suggest doing all of the quests for all the factions, because 2 of the 3 quests that you end up doing for each reward like really nice blue gear that is way over the level that you could reasonably get at that time.
I mean, depends on what level you.
Yeah, like it was not good gear for me.
I was about to say.
Because like I was 30 before I made it to Everfall. But like if you're just questing, like it's amazing gear.
I mean, obviously I need to go to Everfall because that's where I know the farm routes best.
That's the thing that cracks me up about Monarch's Bluff is it is kind of just universally the worst place for all crafting materials.
Like I don't feel like I have figured out a place I can just, chill and get a whole bunch of iron. I really don't have a great place to go and get a bunch of fibers.
So like what I did, there's a hut around the corner from Pridwin. And there are trees, there are wolves, there are half a dozen hemp plants.
Yeah,
and there are
just
3,
a little bit.
And there are 3 iron nodes sitting there. So like I just kind of hung out there and farmed down things as they respawned, because all of the routes in Monarch's Bluff are awful. Like they exist, but they're not good. It's not like Windsward where you can get hemp anywhere.
Yeah.
Or, Everfall where you could just get all the iron you would ever want in the world. It's just like I really like the story changes. I like the castle town that is, Pridwin in Monarch's Bluff, but like for crafting purposes, it's just the worst zone for crafting.
I will say the story, while it definitely now exists, is still pretty thin.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best story in the world, but it's more of a story than it was.
Guess that is true. I don't know. I at least now, like, if somebody does come up, there will be at least a character transfer eventually. Hopefully, Themiscyra dies down.
Yeah,
If
and
not-
the thing with Themyscira is it is part of a server cluster that all of them are fairly populated. So even if this server dies off, it will merge into two other servers probably pretty successfully. Eden and Olympus, I think, are the other two servers in the cluster.
Now, are they adding more servers to the cluster, and like, do they ever do server splits?
I don't
guess
know that they've ever had a server split
I
happen.
guess they've never had
That would require the game population to go
grow.
up,
Yeah.
I mean,
which,
like
until recently, has
yeah,
not been
like-
a thing.
like starting in August, it began to grow. And you know, I got up somewhere in the 50,000s ish or so prior to this launch, and then it hit I think 68,000 peak or so after the launch. But like the Achilles heel is still the Achilles heel. It's the server design
Yeah.
that causes problems because, like, okay, so we have a handful of people on this podcast alone that were shut out in the cold because they didn't, pre-stage a character on the server. And honestly, had Grace not thought to pre-stage this character, I wouldn't have done it either.
We might have all been completely
Yeah.
lost.
But,
I
like-
actually didn't pre-stage a character until the day I got in on the day of, but I got in right before it closed.
So the problem is like, if you're going to do server locks, you need to be as responsive as Final Fantasy 14 is with server locks. Like
I feel
twice
like
a
you need to
day.
do better than that.
Yeah, but even then, a couple times a day, they are reevaluating the state of the server and opening or closing it. Which means if you time it, you can still get on the stupid server, which is not the case here. Like, I don't know if or when they're ever going to unlock these servers. Like, clearly, queues are no longer a problem.
Yeah.
Like, we have a stable population. You know, you could probably open them up in the morning, close them by afternoon, let a few more people in. But no, they're just locked. And all of them are just locked indefinitely from what we could tell. They are not a very nimble ship.
No, and there's issues that I had at launch that still have not been fixed in this game either. I mean, as much as I love the moment-to-moment gameplay, I logged on the other day and messaged Belle and was like, man, this chat is so laggy. And it finally dawned on me, oh, back when I was playing at launch, if you mute global chat, it makes all of your chat super laggy, and it has never been fixed.
Right. And I thought it had been fixed. But what happened is they lost enough population that it was no longer a big deal. I assume it is just a throughput type issue where, like, you can only process so many messages at a time. And if you blow out the buffer, then you end up with lag. And when there was nobody on the server, there was no lag because they had more than enough time to process messages.
Well, I mean, admittedly, like, why would anyone expect, Amazon to, know about, massive populations and how to handle large amounts of, traffic and
Scale, yeah.
scaling? It's like,
Just, I don't know, like,
I swear.
but like at the end of the day, they will always be strapped by their poor server design at really being a game designed for 1,500 players. Like, this is a game that if they offered private servers, I would absolutely rent a server for.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Yep, if we could get private servers, we would absolutely all pitch in and hang out on a private server, and it would be amazing.
Yeah. Like, what I really want out of an online game is I want to be able to play with my friends at basically at any time. Like if we're both around, we can play together. And I don't want to have to deal with other random idiots.
Yes.
All right, I don't want other random idiots to like make my experience worse.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, like I'm okay with other people being around as long as they're not able to impact my experience. But like,
At least negatively.
yeah,
Once upon a time, it was really cool to have just a whole bunch of people that you didn't know in a video game.
That time was 20 years ago.
Well,
back when a huge
There-
amount of people all playing a game online together was like 100 folks.
Also, when it was a novelty, which it
Right.
isn't anymore.
Right. And the thing is,
But,
because
like,
it was a
there's-
novelty, we approached it differently. Like it was something that was almost, I don't know, kept sacred because like, oh my God, we're all playing at the same time.
There are definitely designs that minimize the ability for people to negatively impact you. And I feel like we should emphasize those more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Looking
other
at Guild Wars
games,
2 here for a good example.
I mean, other games do such a good job of having virtual pools of players that can shift in and out.
That too.
Like,
Yeah.
like the 1500 is fine. Build that 1500 out of all of my friends and some random other people. Like, because like really the only people that matter other than having, a non-empty town are the people that I'm playing with.
I mean, also pour yet another one out for Glitch, where you were excited to see other people come farm the nodes that you were farming because you both got more when you
Right.
farmed it together.
Yeah.
Well, that is still one of the coolest concepts from Landmark was the fact that you could have harvesting parties and everyone running amok harvesting basically duplicated everything that was harvest. So if I farmed a copper node, you got the copper from the copper node and I got the barrel or whatever you were farming. Like, so you just run around, everybody farming stuff, and so long as you stayed within a reasonable area, everybody was getting it. It was so cool.
there's this holy grail in game dev that won't die.
Everyone remembers like their first MMO and like having the community there.
Well,
It's
and I
not
think
so
it's-
much that,
it's
because
the
you can
contention.
build those. It's the unstructured PvP thing.
Oh yeah,
there's this desire to accurately simulate a world, and to accurately simulate a world, well, everybody just needs to be able to do everything, which includes screwing each other over. That's part of the real world.
Everybody read like Snow Crash,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh, but I want to make that. I secretly want to make that. If I'm making an online game, I want to make Snow Crash. And like, that's not Snow Crash at no point ever reflected an actual thing that people would do.
Yeah.
Even that book itself barely presents its system as good or positive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the Fight Club problem, except writ large, and billions of dollars have been sunk into it. And like, as I comment when I talk about Star Citizen sometimes, and like, Star Citizen is on its way to an inflection point where it either learns the lessons of the last 25 years of online game development, or it's going to piss away $500 million in a game that is going to have a just dramatically dwindling player base.
Well, and for years, I thought this was just a case of PvP is cheap content.
It's not, though.
Like,
It's so
like,
expensive.
like the balance is really expensive, but like I think to some extent, originally people thought, oh hey, let the players make their own content. But that has failed so many times that it has to be more. It has to be some inherent desire to build a system with conflict.
I mean, well, and to some extent, I sort of get it. Like, as a game dev, you are constantly making halls of mirrors of artificial conflict. And at some level, delighting in the frustration of people who face your hall of mirrors get annoyed because they don't walk through it and then overcome it and love it. Like, it's a cycle. But you have to know when the mirrors are, you have to know what mirrors you're putting down and why, and what frustration is good and what frustration isn't. Because if you give people the bad frustration, they log out of your game and never play it again.
Yep.
Whereas that same person with the right friction, the right frustration somewhere in the game will play it for days to get that thing down. I mean, I was having this conversation with Ash some time ago. I don't know time anymore. Some time ago, but it was like you put a horrendous difficulty spike that requires me to grind in the main line of a game story. I'm out. I'm bouncing. I'm gone. You put something punishingly
I have
difficult.
Never known defeat.
Yeah, you put something punishingly difficult that's out of the way that I have absolutely no reason to do.
Mm-hmm.
I will bash my face against that thing.
Well, I mean, it's the
Forever.
chocobo breeding thing.
As long as it's optional.
Yeah, like I farmed up a Knights of the Round materia.
Mhm. I did
I
that.
ground my face against Millennia for like 7 straight hours.
I got all of the legendary weapons, or whatever you call them, in Final Fantasy X. I dodged those lightning bolts. I caught those butterflies. Everything.
Those
It was
lightning
absurd.
bolts.
But
I didn't have to.
recently, which is
But-
not a thing I did back in the PS2 days, but I'd never had to.
I bounced on FF10 the first time I played it because there's a difficulty spike. There's a difficulty spike that if you didn't already know that you needed to grind, you're just going to get pounded by. And I did, and I checked out.
I actually had this problem in Yakuza 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
The-
you're supposed to spend quite a while in the dungeon in Yakuza 7, but they don't telegraph that well as they should.
There's a thing that this has got me thinking of is I do like when games have multiple different points where there are credits. Because the first time I played Celeste, when I got to the summit, I got credits and I was done. And I was happy to be done with the game because it was a big achievement. I was very excited. And then I came back and I played Celeste again, and I decided to really go all in, and I got to the end of the game again. But this time I did the true ending and got through Farewell. And like that ability to give your player an off-ramp when they've decided, yes, this is a good time to be done is very important. Because if I had tried to push my way all the way to Farewell the first time, I probably would have left that game not feeling very satisfied.
I think back to what Tam was saying, though. For me, it's like, let me choose my own grind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like have them in your game. Give me reasons to do them, but like, don't make me do them. Like most of my leveling in New World right now is me wanting to get back to armoring 200. And I am doing that for armoring and weaponsmithing and leveling them up in tandem. And that's my game right now. Like everything else in the game doesn't matter quite as much as me getting my crafting up. And that's the lens in which I'm playing. And it just happens that like levels come automatically by doing that. But if it was presented differently, like previously I got to 200 armoring, but it felt so punitive that I never wanted to level another trade skill. Yet I'm turning around and doing the same stuff. It just feels way better now that it's not quite so punitive.
Well, some of it's just player stubbornness. I mean, I will sit here and chop down all of the trees and level my tree chopping skills. But if the game tells me, now you have to chop 100 trees before you can progress to the next thing, I will get really mad and probably bounce. It's just the perspective of having freedom to do really stupid things versus being forced into it.
Yeah.
I do think this is one of the better second screen games because it's a very compelling like gathering game.
They nailed gathering like no game has ever nailed gathering. Like maybe Minecraft comes close at times, but like this game is so good at gathering.
Are you using Big Sword?
I'm using Big Sword. I'm using Big Sword and Little Sword.
I'm using Big Sword and Big Hammer.
I'm thinking about using Big Sword and Rapier.
Big Sword is so stupidly fun.
Big Sword's pretty fun.
Like, I'm mostly using it as a DPS weapon now. Previously on the PTR, I used it as a tanking weapon, and it was also fun. It's basically the Guild Wars 2 Warrior Greatsword kit for the DPS version.
It gives you such easy access to 3 stacks of rend too.
Yup. And you can get grit on it that you just can't get interrupted while doing it.
So good.
Like right now, my plan is to probably tank with Sword and Shield and DPS with Greatsword.
I should probably try the new Big Sword. I am still just playing with the same darkness and light that I did the first time around.
I mean,
It's my comfort zone.
Is there anything else that scales off of focus now?
Void Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Void.
does it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Void Gauntlet is your doing a murder item.
Okay.
I loved the last time I played it was when Void Gauntlet was new, and I really enjoyed it.
I was about to say
I
don't
love
think
the hell out
played-
of Void Gauntlet. Like it's a fun kit.
Oh, it's super fun.
I do also incidentally appreciate because I did try it out. I appreciate Blunderbuss.
Oh, it's so good. It is the strength ranged weapon. It's a shotgun. Like it's fun. It's a shotgun.
Yeah, it was more fun than I expected. That's also new since I last played, I think.
Yep. I think there's only been 3 weapons added so far. I want to use axe and shield like the Varangian Knights have. That looks cool because it looks like it's a 2-handed axe that they're wielding with a shield. I do kind of think that I think I've heard that they're probably going to rebalance some of the other weapons to make them as fun as Greatsword.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Because like right now, Greatsword just is stupidly fun.
Greatsword is very fun. I mean,
run around with big sword, smash things.
I don't know. Like, I'm a simple person. You give me this hammer. This hammer kit is everything I want. Like, it still is. It was when I played it last. It still is. Like, I want to put things on the ground and keep them there.
Yeah, like hammer is a great tank weapon.
Sure,
really
that's a thing you could do with the hammer. I'm not, but I believe you could tank with it.
Like it's also the central focus of all PvP groups is hammer.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm doing because I'm definitely doing a lot of AoE knockdown.
Yeah, no, that's it is the PvP tank. Like you can tank with it in a dungeon too, but it is the PvP tank.
No, it's very fun. It feels very combo-y because I do like press buttons and then things fall over. It's very, very fun.
My favorite of the hammer attacks is the 3-hit one that just like feels like you're just bashing their skull in when you do it.
I don't know that one, but that sounds like a tank one.
Yeah, it is the tank path one.
Yeah. You know what I like? I like Mighty Gavel. Because you get just like 2 huge hits. Like,
okay, no, it is Mighty Gavel, but there's
yeah.
there's a talent point that gives you a 3rd hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like it feels like you were just bludgeoning the hell out of.
Yeah, there we go.
It is so good. Yeah, like I've never played straight tank tree or straight DPS tree. There's a specific blend that I do between the two of them. Like for a long time, hammer was basically my offhand or my off weapon for tanking. It's still weird though the way that tanking works, where you basically just put a gem in it and now it's a tank weapon.
I don't understand how gems or anything like that works.
So there's a gem called a carnelian, and if you put it in a weapon, it increases threat. If you put it in a piece of armor, it decreases threat. So it is basically either taunt or feint. depending on where you put it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll figure it out, I'm sure, eventually.
I don't know if you've encountered the split yet where the dungeon would normally take place.
No, I'm just entering the second zone right now.
So now instead of everybody goes to Amran, you get a choice. Like you can either do this quest step by going into Amran once and be done with it, or do like a series of a couple quests to do the same step. So I thought that was interesting. I had not seen that yet.
Yeah. The story is interesting. It's there, is what I'll say. It's there.
It's more there than it was before.
It's more there than it was before.
I am paying even less attention to it this time. I probably should have actually paid attention since it's new, but mostly quests are things that are on my way to gathering new stuff.
Well, for me, I guess my kind of complaint is I really do think I want to be part of both a guild and a faction. I remember those were kind of important.
I think it's kind of messed up, honestly, because by the time you get access to factions, none of the gear is useful at all. So like, I don't know, like that was, I thought that was kind of a cool system where factions give you decent gear if you aren't keeping up on your gear. Like it was a way to get a really nice set of gear every so often.
Well, it was also just like a good way of like, I want to be in this zone. I'm going to just do a bunch of factional content in this zone.
Yep.
I can just keep doing factional content in this zone because I care about this zone in particular.
Well, and like now that I finally started questing and got a faction and created the guild and all that wonderful stuff that I did like within the first hour previously, it feels like I have to play catch up now because like I don't have any faction levels. So now I have to grind the faction levels up. Whereas it could have been something that I was just doing in addition to other things.
Yeah, it's so odd.
It feels like a very strange choice.
Like my preference would be that you just choose a faction during character creation, and the second you land in the game, you're with that faction and can join a guild and can do all those things. Because like now there's a significant grind ahead of you before you can choose a faction. And it just feels weird. I mean, I'm hoping at some point this week they let some more people in, or at least it would allow anybody that cares to. I know Elian was going to transfer onto the server and could not because of the lockdown. I'm still very happy I re-rolled. I probably care more about this character now than I do the other character.
I mean, my other character is in US West. Maybe I'll transfer it to the other server. I can't transfer it to this server, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I can only have one character on this server.
Which is dumb. And it's not just that you can only have one character on one server. You can only have one character on a server set. Which is what made the other low pop server not work, is because like if people didn't want to delete the original character, they can't create a new character on that server. I don't know. Game still has issues.
Yeah.
Game's much better than it was. Game still has issues. Anybody have any short topics they want to discuss?
I've been dipping my hooves into them's fighting herds.
What?
Them's fighting herds.
I don't know what this is.
It's the fighting game.
So do you remember
not My
some
Little
time
Pony.
back, there was a My Little Pony fighting game that got C&D
Ah.
and then got new character designs from Lauren Faust? This is that game.
Okay. So it's the not My Little Pony fighting game.
Yes.
Yes.
And all of the not My Little Pony characters are there. I am playing Rarity.
There's definitely an amount of, yes, these characters are...
We built all
the
of
first
the frame
6
data.
of them, anyway, are definitely the main 6 characters from the show.
We built all of this frame data for the primary 6 characters, so we're just going to use that with...
Basically.
Yeah.
And that is fine. They should.
They're coming out with new characters for this game now. A thing I did not know until very recently.
Yes. But this is me learning that the windows for successfully executing combos in this game are much tighter than I am used to with executing like maneuvers in Celeste.
That's not true. You're just not used to them yet.
That might be fair.
That's not true at all.
Okay. Maybe the inputs are a lot more, but even just like it is amusing that just messing around in like I eventually went into tutorial mode, but I was just messing around in like the target dummy, and I was like, ooh, this launch into a aerial combo sure seems good. And sure enough, that's the first thing, like the tutorial's like, hey, you should try and end any combo you do with a launch and then go to the air.
Yes, because this game is definitely structured like a bit like combo flow and Marvel vs. Capcom, is what I would say, except without tagging and infinites. But yeah, this game has combos that tend to go into the air for that reason. Or end with a special, one of the two.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I learned about how I can cancel normals into specials and specials into supers. And that was the last thing that I did in the tutorial, and that's where I was like, this timing window feels incredibly tight. I think part of the problem is that I was maybe using the worst two buttons for my super, because I was using the two buttons that are also grab, and I don't know if the game was misinterpreting that sometimes.
I don't know. I was also using those buttons.
But yes, it's fun. It's very cute. Velvet, the reindeer who is the rarity character, is just as haughty as I would hope, and it's great.
Wait, so they're not all ponies?
No, in this game, like, I don't actually think any of them are ponies. So there is a cow.
I mean, the one that would have been Twilight is still a pony.
Isn't that? I mean, that's a unicorn, right?
Fair, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So is Twilight.
I guess that's fair. Sure. So Twilight is a the spellcaster is a that spellcaster is a unicorn and a pony. But then Applejack's character is a cow.
Which is perfect.
Pinky
It's
is
really well.
Pinky is an alpaca.
Something like that.
That also works.
Paprika. Fluttershy is a lamb with a
The
dog.
most ridiculously complicated character mechanics I've seen in any fighting game not called Guilty Gear. Just gonna say it.
Rainbow Dash appears to be on fire.
I mean, yes.
I mean,
Sure.
And then yes, Rarity is a reindeer and uses ice magic. It's pretty great. I'm definitely still early days and like trying to figure it out, but just doing the tutorial was fun. And I do like how much they go over sort of like, why are you doing these moves? Like, hey, mostly you probably want to be crouch blocking, because the only way somebody is going to interact with you if you're crouch blocking is with an overhead attack or a grab. So that's a good way if you're playing defensively to do a crouch. Like if they're on the ground, for the most part, they aren't going to be able to harm you if you're doing a crouch block. But then they show you all of the situations in which that's not true. So it was a very good tutorial, I thought. And
It
also
honestly reminds me of the Skullgirls tutorial, except it takes you through things in a slightly different order.
it also is very
It doesn't try to teach you mix-ups until you're well into it, instead of like the third thing.
Yeah. It also is character specific. Like there's most of the stuff is like structured in the same way, but they'll like call out specific things for specific characters. Like my apparently Velvet's air combo is different than everyone else because she does not use her medium in the air. But it's very fun and a wonderful way to learn how to, fighting game. I am trying to learn how to fighting game. The good news is that I never really had a huge problem with the with any of like individual times I wanted to execute a special, I was able to do it. It's when I was trying to cancel a normal into a special, I was having problems. And even then I was starting to get the feel of it. Going like the combo they eventually wanted me to get was light, medium, heavy, quarter circle back heavy, quarter circle back heavy, quarter circle forward super. And that was definitely like, this is a little bit much for me.
Well, that is probably time. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.